The battle for Willow Creek. The sun hung low over Willow Creek, casting a fiery glow across the still waters of the reservoir. It was late summer 2023, and I'd just returned to the small town of Pine Hollow, Tennessee, to reclaim the cabin my grandfather, Henry, built with his calloused hands decades ago. I'm Nathan Brooks, and that cabin wasn't just wood and shingles. It was a promise, a memory of fishing trips, campfire stories, and lessons about standing tall with kindness. But on that August morning, as I swept dust off the porch, I had no idea I was about to walk into a war. It started with Eleanor Vance, the iron-fisted president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. She stormed up my gravel driveway, heels sinking into the dirt, clutching a clipboard like it was a battle axe. Her voice was syrupy but sharp, like a knife dipped in honey. "This property falls under Willow Creek HOA jurisdiction," she declared, not bothering to ask my name. I smiled, leaning on my broom. "Ma'am, I own this place. Always have. Name's Nathan." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "We have no record of you. Are you renting? Squatting?" That word squatting lit a spark in me, but Grandpa Henry's voice echoed in my head. "Kill him with kindness, son." So I kept cool. "No, ma'am. This was my grandpa's. It's mine now." I offered my hand. She ignored it. That's when I knew this wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was personal. The next few weeks were a slow burn of harassment. Letters stuffed in my mailbox cited unapproved structures, the dock Grandpa built, the porch swing I'd hung. One even complained about the sage-green color of my front door. Neighbors peeked from behind curtains, some offering pitying glances, others whispering as they passed. I waved, smiled, but their faces stayed tight, like they were scared to cross Eleanor. She wasn't just a busybody. She was a queen, and I was the outsider threatening her throne. One evening, as I strummed my guitar on the porch, a sheriff's cruiser rolled up, lights flashing. Eleanor strutted behind it, pointing at me like I was a wanted man. "Sheriff, arrest this squatter," she shrieked. The crowd of neighbors gasped, phones already recording. Sheriff Mark Ellison, a broad-shouldered man with a calm drawl, didn't flinch. He flipped through a folder, then looked straight at Eleanor. "Ma'am, this cabin belongs to Nathan Brooks. Deed's clear." The air went still. Eleanor's face drained of color, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Then, like something out of a bad movie, she clutched her pearls and collapsed onto the gravel. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Neighbors rushed to her side, but I stood frozen, wondering how a simple homecoming had spiraled into this. Eleanor's collapse didn't stop her. The next day, she was back, paler but fiercer, planting a massive sign at the mouth of my driveway. "No trespassing. Private HOA property." It was bold, ugly, and wrong. I called Sheriff Mark, who sighed over the phone. "Document everything, Nathan. I'll come by." I snapped photos of the sign, emailed them to myself, and drove to the county records office in town. There, a clerk named Ruth, with silver hair and a knowing smile, handed me certified copies of my deed and a map showing my private easement. "You've got an HOA problem, don't you?" she said, chuckling. "I've seen Eleanor's type before. Hold tight to these papers." I thanked her, feeling the weight of those documents like armor. But Eleanor wasn't playing by rules. One night, I woke to a crash that shook my bones. Glass sparkled on my porch under the moonlight. A brick wrapped in duct tape lay among the shards of my front window. A note in black marker screamed one word: leave. My heart pounded as I called Sheriff Mark. He arrived with deputies, bagging the brick for evidence. "This is harassment," he said, his voice low. "We're building a file." The next morning, I found red spray paint slashed across my cabin. "Get out now." Neighbors stopped in their tracks, some whispering, others avoiding my eyes. My trail camera caught a blurry figure at 3:17 a.m., hooded, holding a spray can. It wasn't enough to name Eleanor, but I knew her hand was in it. The HOA meetings became battlegrounds. Eleanor called emergency sessions, railing about my unlawful occupancy and dangerous dock. I showed up with my deed, laying it out for all to see. "This land is mine," I said, tracing the map's lines. "The county says so." Some neighbors leaned forward, curious. Others shifted uncomfortably under Eleanor's glare. Then things got darker. One night, I caught a shadow on my dock, prying at the boards with a wrench. I shouted, and the figure bolted, tripping on a rock. In the porch light, I saw his face, Tyler, Eleanor's 16-year-old grandson, freckled and terrified. She made me do it, he stammered, tears streaming. Grandma said I had to prove myself, or she'd cut me off. My anger wasn't at him. It was at her, using a kid as a weapon. Tyler's confession cracked the dam. He showed up at my cabin the next night with a backpack stuffed with papers, ledgers, emails, bank records proving Eleanor had been siphoning HOA fees into her personal account for years. She made me spray the paint, throw the brick, he whispered. I couldn't take it anymore. I called my lawyer, Sarah Tate, who spread the documents across her desk, her eyes wide. This isn't just harassment. It's fraud. Embezzlement. If we take this to the prosecutor, she's done. But Eleanor struck first. She filed for a court injunction to seize my property, claiming I was a squatter. The courthouse in Pine Hollow was packed that Friday in September 2023. Neighbors filled the benches, whispering. Sarah presented my deed, the easement, the vandalism photos, even Tyler's testimony. Sheriff Mark testified about Eleanor's false claims. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Clara Holt, didn't hesitate. Mr. Brooks owns 112 Reservoir Lane. The HOA has no claim. Mrs. Vance, cease your harassment or face penalties. The gavel fell. Neighbors clapped. Eleanor stormed out, hissing, "This isn't over." She wasn't lying. The next day, papers aired a civil lawsuit claiming I caused her emotional distress and damaged the HOA's reputation. She even suggested I staged the vandalism. Sarah laughed grimly. She's trying to bleed you dry with legal fees. But the real blow came that night. I woke to the roar of fire. Flames devoured the lavender bushes I'd planted, licking up the side of my cabin. I grabbed the extinguisher, shouting, "Fire!" Neighbors ran out, forming a bucket line from the reservoir. We doused the blaze, but the damage was done: scorched siding, charred plants. Sheriff Mark found a smashed Molotov cocktail in the ashes. "Arson," he said, his voice like gravel. Tyler, pale and shaking, whispered, "It was her." "I know it." The final showdown came at the next HOA meeting. The clubhouse was electric with tension, cars spilling out of the lot. Eleanor stood at the front, banging her gavel, preaching about my threat to the community. She waved a motion to dissolve my easement, her last desperate play. I stepped forward, Tyler at my side, and laid out the evidence: her stolen funds, her orders to vandalize, her manipulation of her own grandson. "She's the real threat," I said, my voice steady. Tyler spoke up, trembling but firm. "She made me hurt, Nathan. She's been stealing from you all." The room erupted. Neighbors shouted, some in shock, others in rage. Sheriff Mark stepped forward. "Mrs. Vance, you're under investigation for fraud, arson, and harassment." Her gavel fell. Her empire crumbled. As deputies led her away, Eleanor screamed, "You'll regret this, Nathan." But the neighbors weren't hers anymore. They clapped, hugged, some crying with relief. The next morning, the community gathered on my porch: casseroles, coffee, laughter. Tyler, free from her grip, smiled for the first time. The cabin, scarred but standing, felt alive again. The reservoir shimmered, calm and unbroken, like it had seen this storm coming and knew it would pass. But Eleanor's final threat lingered in my mind. Cornered people don't quit, they plot. And as I sat on the dock that night, fishing rod in hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that her shadow might return. For now, though, the cabin was mine, and Pine Hollow was free. What do you think? Did Eleanor deserve a chance at redemption, or was justice served? Should Tyler face consequences for his actions, or was he just a victim of her control? How far would you go to protect your home? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories that'll keep you on the edge of your seat.